Hi, welcome to Memberhub Communications, creating newsletters that stand out. My name is Sonia Varilla. I'm the Genesee Valley Region Director, and this workshop is being presented for the first time at our 125th annual convention for the New York State PTA. Items that we'll include in this workshop are an overview of the communications module for Memberhub, messages, newsletters, and what happens after you send. Within the communications module, this is where you would do all of your communications with your Memberhub contacts. Send newsletters, messages. Messages allow you to send an SMS text message as well after sending the message through email. Newsletters offer a variety of templates you can select and send multiple emails within one newsletter campaign. You can create your hubs, view contacts, and setting for those hubs, as well as uploading files and photos to your site. The purpose of hubs now is for communications, events, and sharing files. Memberhub also has partnered with signup.com, which is not covered in this workshop, so that you can click signups. You will be directed to their site to set up your signup. This allows you to have a public signup for your volunteers without having to have them log into your Memberhub site. This workshop, we will be covering messages and newsletters in the communications module. For the messages feature in the communications module is meant to be used for easy communication with people in your organization. It is different from newsletters in a few important ways. Only admins can access newsletters, but messages are available to almost everyone on your site. Emails are sent via messages will show the sender as the person who created the message. Emails sent via messages are only accessible in Memberhub by the sender or the recipient of the message. To create a new message, you would click on the New Message button. Select your recipients, and depending on your privileges in the site, you may be able to filter on hubs, roles, or contacts. An example of roles would be if you wanted to send a message only to PTA members, current year PTA members, you would select the role of member. Use these available filters to create your list of recipients. You would enter a subject for your message and then compose your message. Type your message in using standard text editing tools are available. You can also insert images, which would appear inline only, and attach files easily. You could save your message as a draft, scheduled to send at a future day and time, or be able to send the message immediately. Note: to cancel or edit a scheduled message, you would need to view the saved draft and then click Cancel Send. After sending a message, you do have the option to also send a text message at the same time. You can also edit the text as needed and click Send Text to send. If you do not want to send a text message, just click Continue without text message. If you have a scheduled message, the text would be sent at the same time as the scheduled message. It is important to note that for the text messages, the only way people would receive it is if they had included their mobile phone carrier in their profile settings. Just because you've added the mobile number does not necessarily guarantee that they would receive the text message. The person has to go into their profile and they have to add their mobile carrier in order to guarantee delivery. Newsletters: you can create beautiful newsletters, no design skills needed. You can group messages into campaigns to create a coordinated set of individual email messages that could be sent over a period of time. For example, you may choose to use one campaign for your weekly newsletters, one for promoting membership, sales, etc. Only site admins have access to newsletters, and newsletters are sent from the organization, not individuals. So to start a newsletter, you would use the default view to show a chronological listing of all messages sent to your organization. If you prefer to see a listing of campaigns, you could click on View Campaigns. There's no limit to the number of emails or campaigns you can create. In either the email or campaign view, you will see a list of messages, information on sends, opens, and click-through rates. To create a message, you have several options. You could click to add a message. You would then be prompted to choose your campaign or start a new one. This will create the campaign groupings described above. Click on Copy on a previous email. You'll begin with the content of the previous message and edit as needed. And from the View Campaigns, you could either start a new campaign or create a new message in an existing campaign. So this shows you the screen when you go to start a new newsletter. This site over here shows you the different sections, and then I'm going to explain what they are. So number one is the campaign name. Here you can name the campaign. Choose a name that will make sense for the grouping of emails to be reused for similar messages. Click Edit Name to change the name and Save to save. It's important to note that the campaign name does not have to be the same as your subject. So you, or as the writer of the newsletter, are the only person that sees the campaign names. Preview. After you've saved your message as a draft, you can click Preview to see a preview of it in your browser. You can also use this to save or edit name. Recipients. Next, you would choose the recipients of the message. By default, all contacts in your organization are selected, but you can filter by user, role, and hub affiliation. After you've chosen your filter options, you'll see the number of recipients in the message to go to. You can also click on the number of recipients to view the list of names to confirm your email audience. Subject. Enter a subject for your email message. This is the subject line of the email that will be sent out. As I mentioned before, the campaign name created above is not part of the email message. Template, which we'll discuss later, and scheduled send. Send your message. You may either schedule your message to send a newsletter to send at a future date or click send now. You may also save it as a draft by clicking save. To cancel or edit a scheduled newsletter, you would click on the save draft and click cancel send. This shows you some examples of different templates that are ready-made and ready to go in the newsletter section. If you change your mind after you get started and you want to use a different template, you will have the option to choose a different template, but you do want to make sure that you've saved your content somewhere else, because if you change the template midstream, you will lose any of your work. And that has happened to me before. So be sure to copy and paste on like a Word document or a notepad or some electronic way. Make sure you've saved what you want to do. Once you've selected your template, you're ready to start customizing your newsletter. You can click in any box to edit the content. For example, in an image box, you would want to insert your own image. In a text box, you would want to type the text you want to include. And I encourage you to play around with the existing templates to see some of the options. This is an example of part of the building block of the newsletter template. So this gives you some examples of things you could do. You could include buttons, include columns, dividers, headings. You can do direct HTML coding if you know that. Inserting an image, inserting a menu, inserting text. These are examples here, these gray boxes of image boxes where you could click on it and then you could select to include an image. This blue indicator here is where your cursor would be. So if you wanted to insert columns, you could highlight it and then the column section would be inserted where it's blue right there. This newsletter template system is very similar to other things that you might see on MailChimp or other services. You can move existing sections around by dragging and dropping to new locations. Hover over the item and click on this blue hash mark image and drag to the new location. To better organize sections, you may want to create new content blocks and organize the structure of your message. You can drag and drop blocks to the location you want and then add content to the blocks. You can even customize the body, customizing colors, fonts, alignment, etc., by shown in this section here. This is probably this was the most surprise to me in this newsletter section, is that if you click down here on this images section, you can actually view thousands and millions of royalty-free images. It used to be that I would have to scour the internet for images, but all of these royalty-free images are available right in here. You can just click on the search button and then click type a descriptor, and it'll pull up royalty-free images that you could click and just stick right in your newsletter. Lastly, at the bottom, you'll find undo, redo, preview, and desktop versus mobile view buttons to make sure your email will look great wherever people read it. It's also important to note that you can't attach files in newsletters. You can attach them in messages, but in newsletters, you can only insert links. And you can add links to text, or you could add links to pictures. After you hit send, you do have the option to share it via other methods, including social media platforms, links, and so on to better reach your entire audience. There are two ways to share on social media. One, immediately after sending your email message, you'll be prompted, or you can log in and view sent messages and choose to share at any time. So let's look at a couple of examples of some newsletters. This is an example of a region newsletter that I sent out recently. So this is text right here that I typed at the top. I typed who was getting it. So for this was I was able to send it to officers. So I wanted to make sure that officers knew this was going to all officers. I had my logo and some images, and then I have some text. I have a button that has a link that if you click on it, it takes you to the registration page for that event. And then I had some information here for another event. You can see I added links just in the text here. And then here I had some icons at the bottom that I found online. And so if you click here on the Facebook, it takes you to our Facebook page. If you click on the globe, it takes you to our website. If you click on the envelope, it takes you to our email address. And if you click on the Twitter, it takes you to our Twitter page. Another example of a newsletter. So this is actually the newsletter that our wonderful New York State PTA membership team sends out on a monthly basis called the Memo. So you can see they're able to include some icons in the subject line and in the body of the email, which is great as far as getting attention. They've got various buttons listed here with links, graphics. They've used a 2-column setup here that you can see. And then they transition to a 1-column here. Then they have a grouping of pictures with captions, which you're able to do. There you go. There's a couple examples for you to see. If you have any questions about newsletters or anything else related to Memberhub, I do encourage people to go to the support.memberhub.com website. It has a ton of articles and videos that tell you how to do mostly everything in Memberhub. Or feel free to reach out to me, Sonia Varillo at Genesee Valley RD at nyspta.org, and I'll be more than happy to try to assist you. Happy newsletter and message creating, and we'll talk to you later.